Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the Verified AMA. I'm your host, Lawton, here with Verified Investing, and I go live every single day. The markets are open from 12:30, which is right now, until 1:15. So we get to hang out for 45 minutes every single day. I hope you guys had a great day yesterday. Had some interesting earnings. Google, Chipotle, Tesla, a bunch of earnings. But anyways, happy to see you. Again, my name here is Lawton Ho here at Verified Investing, and I'm one of the pro traders here. I'm here to answer your questions. For those of you who are new, who have never done this before, you can go ahead and scan the QR code down below or visit the verifiedinvesting.com homepage to submit your questions. And I will do my best to answer any questions that you guys throw at me. You can talk to me about anything. You can ask me about myself. You can ask me about charts, about stocks, crypto, commodities, whatever you want. Talk to me about sports. And in turn, and I love talking about sports, in turn, I will do my best to give you an answer. Right. I'll do my best. If you have me take a look at a chart, I'll do my best to give you my analysis, to tell you what I would do in every situation. And I try to give as much context as possible, particularly if it's a stock I've never traded before. I will go ahead and disclose that ahead of time. All right. With that being said, how's everybody doing today? How's your Thursday going? Is today Thursday or Wednesday? Thursday. It feels like this week has gone by quickly. I mean, to be fair, I was off on Monday, and Tuesday, like, my car blew up. The rear tire blew up on my drive to work, so I missed like half a day being at the dealership. Super annoying. So let's get into your questions. Donna says, is TXN, Texas Instruments, at support and ready to go up? Let's check it out. All right, let's check out TXN, Texas Instruments. Nice banger to start things off. So Texas Instruments, is it at support? Well, it depends. Where is support? For me, I really like this level down here. I have a gap fill down here around 176.25 and gap window here at 179, basically. Well, I just had lunch, a nice pizza. About 3 to 5% lower should be some support. Additional level of support would be right here about this gap fill, one at 172.23. And you have another one right here around 165. Now, Texas Instruments has gone up in a straight line basically since the Liberation Day lows, up about 58%. It's what's causing the semiconductor industry to push higher and go kind of crazy. So yeah, I anticipated this pullback, anticipate it continuing to fall potentially. But this is the level. I don't see it at support right now. There was support here at 188 around this gap fill level, but that support is now resistance, as you now see. Oh, excuse me. I need an energy drink. As you see, price pushed up into that level today and failed to break it and is actually trading lower. So these are my levels of support on TXN. Is it ready to go up? I would not say so. Mike says, hi. What's up, Mike? How's it going? Where do you see Microsoft's near-term resistance is? So Microsoft has this beautiful trend line. In fact, I'm going to switch it over here. Let's do these charts. Look at this. Turn off this view app. Look how beautiful this upsloping parallel channel is. Amazing, amazing parallel channel. Hit it 1, 2, 3 times perfectly and pulled back. Had this nice upsloping trend line, It did end up breaking and is now retraced to today. Look how amazing trend lines are. Retraced to it today and failed to break up and out of it, pulled back off of it. Near-term resistance would be this trend line. So that would be around 515 or 516, right? That's where the resistance is for me on Microsoft. Luis says, Lawton, thanks for doing this. Love the program. Thanks so much for joining, Luis. Carvana had recent resistance at 331. Let's go to these charts. At 331, okay. You mean support? What other resistance are there? Support levels are under 331. For me, for Carvana, the next level of support I'm eyeing and I anticipate getting a bounce from is this nice gap fill about 3% lower at around $319.40. That is the first level I'd be interested in going long Carvana. You see how, look at this beautiful trend line, guys. 1 hit, 2 hit, 3 hit, 4 hit. Comes bouncing off of this trend line and finally breaks it. But yeah, this 319 level is my target for the first level for a bounce. There's an additional kind of gap fill over here around 306.10, but it would not surprise me if we saw under $300 on Carvana. That doesn't mean I'm going to short it right now, although it wouldn't be a bad idea, but yeah. Merritt says, hi, what's up, Merritt? In Smart Money Crypto Trades, do you provide suggested leverage to take? Yeah, we'll tell you our exact portfolio size and everything. I don't know that we're using leverage in crypto right now, though. I don't think we're using leverage for any of those trades currently. Oh, excuse me, guys. Oh, man. Pizza makes me sleepy, I guess. I'm not even sleepy, just yawning. Don't even particularly feel tired, so I don't know. Anyways, Fahim says, hi, Lon. I'm trading IBKR with IBKR, but it won't let me trade SOXS. Dang, that's my favorite thing to trade. It says I need a KID document. Can you help? Unfortunately, Fahim, that's not something I can help you with. You'd have to contact Interactive Brokers to help you out with that. I personally use Thinkorswim, and I didn't need to do anything to be to trade SOXS. But it might be different for you. It also might depend if you're in a different country, but I'd just reach out to Interactive Brokers and see if they can help you get that sorted. I just said, sorry about your car. It's okay. A couple $1,000 to fix her up, but it's okay. Can you talk to me about Meta earnings in a few days in Apple? Yeah, sure. You're kind of a freaky frog, AJ, but I dig it. I'm down with it. Okay, so Meta. Do you guys see a pattern formation on Meta? Are any students of the methodology familiar with any patterns that they might see on Meta? I'm gonna let you guys type in the chat. Okay, I'm watching the chat right now. So submit to me. Let me know what you guys think. I see a pattern on this. Do you see a potential pattern on this? Okay, you think it's a bull flag, AJ? What else? Give me some other. This is what AJ's saying. That's not the pattern that I saw. What other patterns do you guys think that you see? I mean, you could argue that it's bullish, but actually I'm talking about a bearish signal. Jim got it. There you go. Yeah, that's correct. Yep. It is a head and shoulders pattern. And let me show you where that is. Head and shoulders pattern. Let's go something like this. Head, shoulder, right shoulder. And I don't know where this side would play out, but look at this beautiful head and shoulders pattern. Potentially, we just need this right shoulder to come down. Yes, and that's the great thing about charting, right? About using about using TradingView and being able to chart things is you can see multiple types of patterns, bullish and bearish patterns. Head and shoulders pattern is bearish, absolutely. But that bull flag or kind of breakout that you're looking at earlier could potentially be bullish. So if, let's say, the head and shoulders plays out there, the anticipated move would be essentially a 10% move down, right? However, you could also argue that Meta is breaking up of this downsloping trend line and therefore is bullish, right? Is actually bullish, and you're expecting to move higher. However, Meta is trading at all-time highs. Okay. And what do we know? This is going to be a teachable moment. Okay. Love those things. So for Meta, right? For Meta here, there's two patterns that we can clearly see. You can see this downsloping trend line, kind of a suitable flag, but downsloping trend line it's breaking up of. And what do we know about downsloping trend lines? They favor a move higher, right? However, we also, as I demonstrated earlier, see a beautiful head and potentially head and shoulders pattern should this right shoulder finish forming and break. Head and shoulders pattern with a measured move down 10%. Now you have these two patterns, bullish and bearish. But look where Meta is on the charts. And this is so important, guys. Meta is trading nearer at its all-time highs. In fact, it was at its all-time highs last month, like basically a month ago, right? So we have two patterns at all-time highs. Do you think that a bullish pattern at all-time highs or a bearish pattern at all-time highs is more likely to play out? Mind you, since these lows here, we've moved up basically in a straight line up 56%. So I would argue that it's actually bearish, right? That this bearish pattern on Meta is more likely to play out than the bullish pattern, right? I'll acknowledge that that there is a bullish pattern on Meta, but I also have to say that this bearish pattern for me takes priority. Okay. Also, Meta is at double top, right? So tons and tons of things. But I see that David, David, it's not a, it is bearish head and shoulders. I would not consider that a bear flag, although you kind of could, right? You could say that, you had this down move and then kind of something like that. But I would say more than anything, head and shoulders pattern. So AJ, I would say that Meta favors a move to the downside into earnings. Okay. But if you're interested in trading that with us, we're actually going to go live and trade that live in our earnings trader service, which is part of Smart Money Stocks and ETFs. But yeah, that's super cool. Look at that. Head and shoulders pattern at the highs of the charts, more likely to play out than a trend line break. Not that the trend line break isn't valid, because it's definitely there, but yeah. All right. DG says, any thoughts on lows for DOW? Yeah, I had this amazing inverse head and shoulders pattern favoring a move up 14%. And this is why, guys, this is going to be I'm going to do another teachable moment. This is why I never go long or short into earnings. I won't do it. Some other traders might, but I'm not interested, because look at this chart. DOW is at pretty far low on the charts, right? It's still down. You're talking 65% from its highs, right? And look at this. You have a beautiful inverse head and shoulders pattern with a measured move up 14% going into earnings, favoring a move to the upside. It looks bullish. It looks like you want to go long into earnings. Any bit of good news would push this easily past $35. But the charts don't care if the earnings are bad. And look at this. Earnings were atrocious, absolutely atrocious, significantly worse than expectations, right? Significantly worse than expectations for both earnings and revenue. So the stock is absolutely collapsing. And look, the setup is bullish. The charts are good. But when a company reports earnings, anything they could say that's super bullish or super bearish can absolutely get rid of any, anything on the charts, right? The charts don't care. Charts do not care. So where are the levels that I'm looking on for DOW? The first level I have is this pivot low from Liberation Day lows at around $25.08. That is the first level that I'm looking at DOW for a potential bounce. The next level you can see down here is this double bottom down at just below $22. But yeah, guys, this is why I never go long or short into earnings, because it's flipping a coin, right? And granted, the coin can sometimes be in your favor, but if you get it wrong, you could get absolutely smoked. Absolutely smoked. All right. I'm going to keep going. And guys, I know that there's a lot of questions, but I'm going to do my best to answer them in the order that they were asked, okay? So, again, guys, my name is Lawton Ho here with Verified Investing. I go live every single day. The markets are open from 12:30 to 1:15. If you want to ask questions, you can do so exclusively on the verifiedinvesting.com website. But anyways, hope you guys enjoy this service. Hope you guys enjoy this as much as I enjoy doing it. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube at Verified Investing. Give us a like. It really helps push this algorithm and makes my show more successful. So, okay. Next question. Jim says, good day, Lawton. Could you take a look at OKLO? And do you see the measure move to around 100? I do see that. And OKLO, we actually just traded this earlier in the live day trading room. We shorted it at around 75, 76, and it's come down significantly. For me, my next level of resistance on OKLO for a short is up here. How did I find this level? I put a trend line through this pivot high, up to here with around 78, just below $78 as resistance. But I see that pattern that you're talking about, Jim. But one thing for me is that it's at all-time highs. So how likely is that pattern to play out? Not necessarily that likely. Okay. Manny says, thoughts on SRPT with the news. What's the news today? Maintained at a buy. I've never traded this before. Some people said overweight. Some people said buy. It's a maintained a buy, but it's falling, crushing this previous level of support that I had found for SRPT. Now you're looking for additional levels of support for a rebound. So we can go to the daily all the way back here. Yeah, so I have a nice pivot low down here around $7.91. And if it falls below that, it would be kind of tough for me to find some more levels. I mean, there's always going to be more levels. But yeah, this is not a stock that I've traded before, not something I'm in, but these are my levels of support on SRPT: 791, 701, and 346. And if you're in this, I feel for you. But they do have earnings in 6 days. And something great about these companies that are such small market cap, about $1 billion market cap, is that any positive news could cause this thing to absolutely skyrocket. So Esther says, hi, dear Law. What's up, Esther? Hope you're doing well. Can you please check support levels on Google? Yep. Yeah, and I know AJ asked about that earlier. I haven't, man, I forgot to answer your question, AJ. It's okay, I'm covering it now. I actually haven't ordered to day trade this long at 190.22, or rather I had one, but it bounced just a couple cents above that gap fill. Interestingly enough, Google had good earnings, right? Had good earnings, moved up 3.5%. I was going to short it up here around $200.04. But it pulled back significantly ahead of that. For me, excuse me, this 190 gap fill from yesterday should provide some level of support. You have another one over here. And another one just around here, right? These are levels that Google is likely to bounce on my screen. 185, 183, 179, 173, 166, and 165. If you want, you could pause the screen right now, take a screenshot of this, and these are my levels of support currently on Google. As far as AVGO, AVGO pushing up higher, right? Couldn't quite break down from this nice trend line. Struggled to break down from it. Pushing higher, making new highs. When things that are all-time highs, it's hard for us to, it's definitely significantly more difficult for us to find, let's see here, this here. Let's do this. Wow, would you look at that? Look how amazing that is on AVGO. I took a trend line from here, the highs, previous all-time highs here in December 16th. And this is something to remember. The more significant the pivot that you're drawing these trend lines from, the more powerful I think they are. And this was a previous all-time high. So that's pretty significant. Through this high here, and look where price pulled back today. Right there at that previous all-time high. So we're looking at this pullback, looking for this pullback, and looks like it came down. And actually, where did it get a bounce today? It got a bounce at that gap fill. Wow, beautiful, beautiful. This is an amazing chart. This just shows, a lot of people joke and say technical analysis is astrology for men. And if you think about it, it's like, it's not just for men, it's for anyone, right? But you're basically drawing imaginary lines on a chart, right? Expecting things to happen. But is it a coincidence if it actually works? I think not. Like, look at this. Pull back, kiss this trend line, pull back. And where did it bounce today? Where did it bounce? It bounced from that gap fill. Perfectly up, bounce 1.5%. That would have been an incredible day trade. Dang, I missed that. This just shows how many opportunities there are to trade every single day, because there are hundreds and thousands of charts. If you throw in crypto and commodities, it's just like infinite number of charts that you could trade, more than you and I could ever trade every single day in our lifetime. But yeah, that just shows how powerful technical analysis is. But this is the level of resistance. Okay. All right. Next question. Charlene says, hi, Lawton. What's up, Charlene? Could you put the support levels for UNH? Yeah, and UNH coming down off of poor news, right? I have a CSP with 250 strike expiring 1st of August. I like to avoid getting assigned. For me, my support level on UNH is here around 274.25. Right, this is the previous gap fill, and then this pivot low down here at 269. These are the levels that I have for support on UNH. And he says, can you take a look at Tesla? In the daily chart, you have a head and shoulders forming to the downside. Does that look right? Where is your head and shoulders? I'm struggling to see your head and shoulders, Andy. I can share my chart though. Tesla is down off of earnings. Elon said in his earnings call that there's problems with reduced support for electric vehicles, and says he's expecting, sales drops, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, my first level of support is over here around 295.86. If it got down there, I'd be a buyer. This beautiful gap fill, I'd be a buyer down there 100% for a day trade at least, if not a longer term. My next level of support for this pivot low is 288, 289, and 273. Those are my levels of support. Okay. Clint says on Levi, is there any significance of a double gap at the same price area October 3rd, 2024 and July 10th of 2025? That's neither of which have been filled. So gap on October 3rd. Okay. Awesome. Where's the second gap? July 10th. You said neither of which have been filled, but this gap has been filled, right? In fact, it opened up above, came back below, but any price above, this gap has been filled. On Levi, this gap has already been filled. But if you're talking about this gap, there is a new gap that's formed that has yet to be filled from yesterday, around 2108. But this level is still valid. This gap is still valid. This gap is still valid. Okay. 4% lower and 2.5% higher. Fahim, AJ says Fahim can short the SMH instead of SOXS. Yep, that's true. If you're unable to trade leveraged stocks, which could be your problem, Fahim, with SOXS, you could just short the SMH. You can short this or short the SOXX, man. Louis says, thinking about subscribing to the Apex Live monthly service. I think I heard you or Gareth say that there are day trading passes. If so, how can we get a day pass? You can go ahead and check that out on our website. Yeah, we've had 3 trades so far, made $5,000 today in our open trades. But you can buy daily passes, weekly passes if you want to check us out and try it out. I like our day trading service. I think it is the most bang for our buck. I think it's our most profitable service. All of our wins and losses, as pretty and ugly as they are on our track record, totally transparent. We'll tell you our exact entries, our exits, how much of our portfolio we're putting into it. And all of our trades are verified. So, but I think it's really worth it. But check it out on the verifiedinvesting.com website. Okay, Sorry guys, I'm just catching up to some of these questions. What's my opinion on Hood leaning into earnings? David's asking. So Robinhood does have earnings in 6 days. You had this nice trend line that I said hit 1, 2, broke above, but is now trading below. Could potentially be bear flagging down below. Another thing, we could see the potential formation of a head and shoulders pattern, right? Depending on what happens, right? So for me, I anticipate Hood to come down. It's at all-time highs. I think it's overextended. Extremely bullish news, though, is that, of course, Hood is trading, I believe, securities or stocks or something overseas in Europe, or tokenized stocks. I'm not really sure. But look at this trend line. I had drawn this the other day, and look where price bounced off of it today. Perfectly on it again today. Bounced off of it, had about a 1.5% move to the upside off of that level. So if I had to guess, I think Hood is going to come down. But of course, I've been wrong, and I'll be wrong 100 times again. Right? I'm not interested in trying to predict what's going to happen. I'm just going to do my best after earnings to come out to find levels of support and resistance. Realistically, if Hood disappoints, you could see a move down here to 91.27, about 10% lower. Okay. Christopher says, hi, Lawton. I'm short CCJ. Let's check that out. CCJ 74.50 and looking to add. All right. That's tough. They have earnings next week, so I'm sure about adding the current level it's at now, or wait till earnings to see if it gets popped. Also, there's an inverse head and shoulders on the weekly chart. Thanks for all you do. Love your service. Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. And thank you for asking your questions. It means the world to me. There is not an inverse head and shoulders. If you're talking about this is not valid. The reason it's valid is because this is upsloping. Right? This is upsloping. In order for, I'll turn this into a teachable moment. Actually, quintessential question. Okay, when you were talking about head and shoulders patterns or inverse head and shoulders patterns, there is a very simple rule of thumb that we need to follow. For a head and shoulders to be valid, the trend line needs to be, the neckline needs to be upsloping. You see the armpit here? The left armpit has to be lower or equal to or parallel to this one on the right shoulder. Okay, the opposite is also true. So for an inverse head and shoulders, the left shoulder has to be higher, right? Higher than the right armpit in order to make an inverse head and shoulders pattern valid, okay? Because this is upsloping, this actually would be a great level of resistance. Is actually bearish. Obviously, CCJ continued higher. But yeah, that's my quintessential question. But as far as your question is concerned, Christopher, I'm sorry to hear that. For me, I would wait until earnings to add. I'm not interested in trading, in predicting what it's going to do upon earnings. Yes, it's at all-time highs. Yes, it favors a pullback. Yes, it's gone up vertically since March or April. The April lows up 127%. But, you know, I'm not interested in trying to short this or predict where it's going to go into earnings. Monica says, hi, Lawton. Hope Gareth is doing well. Yeah, Gareth, fortunately for those of you guys who have heard, has a kidney stone. Sucks for him. But yeah, he should be discharged from the hospital today. What good entry levels do I have for Baidu? For me on Baidu, I'd be interested right here. 88.84 would be an entry. And I'd look again here at 87.52 and 85.87. These are my entries for Baidu 88.82, 87.52, and 85.87. Okay. Thank you so much for your questions, guys. Have about 10 minutes left. I'm going to try and go a little quicker so that I can answer these questions. AJ says, I'm in the live day trading room service and I love it. Awesome. What other services are offered and how can I buy them? So we also have a swing trading service called Smart Money Stocks and ETFs, where you get access to Gareth, Ben, and Drew's swing trades, as well as Earnings Trader, where we literally trade earnings live. Okay, you can go check that out on our Verified Investing website under Swing Trade Alerts. So crypto, commodities, or stocks and ETFs, they're all there. As far as AAPL is concerned, on Apple, my next level of resistance, I had this nice pivot low here and this basically pivot high that kind of coincides next to each other at around 216, right? Basically a pierce of 216 should provide some decent level of resistance. But again, Apple has earnings in 7 days, so I'm not interested in touching it until after earnings or during earnings. Yes, it is, AJ. Andy, I did talk about Tesla already. Head and shoulders on the daily chart. I don't really see it. Unless you're talking about like that. I guess that is valid. However you want to draw it. But it has a ways to go before that actually comes to fruition. Alexander, he did not cover, I don't think, any of his position yesterday. What do you think about DPRO chart? Is it a good buy point? No, I'm not going to touch this. And I would say, of course, do whatever you want. I can't control you. But this is a free service that we're doing, that I'm doing here. And I genuinely care about the best interest of you guys. I would not touch this. Right? Could it go up 100 times? Absolutely. But could it go down to $0? Absolutely. This thing is so small, $33 million. Market cap. I would stay away from this. Generally, anything below $1 billion, $1.5 billion, I'm not really interested in touching. Andy says your chart looks different than mine. Not sure why. Drew John says Drew covered LUV this morning. Okay. It has broken the neckline of an inverse head and shoulders. Where might you see another level of support? For me, my next level of support on LUV is down here. 31.33. Beautiful gap fill. About 4% lower. You have a pivot low here. And a pivot low here. And down here around 24.03. So these are my levels of support on LUV. If you want to pause, take a screenshot, and check it out. Dan says, can you tell me what you think of Health? What's the ticker on that? Let me look it up. Health. T. What do I think about this? This looks like a potential bull flag, but you also have a potential head and shoulders pattern. Actually, this is a down sloping trend line, so it could look bullish. Down like a up move with this sideways consolidation could be typical bull flag. Still down significantly from its highs, but could look to go higher. My level of resistance on this is around $5.38. I'm running out of time. 5 minutes left. I'm going to go a little little faster. Let's take a look at BlackBerry for you. Yeah, for me, BlackBerry broke this kind of downtrend, but what you want to see here is an up move and some sideways consolidation, and then a move higher. But my level of support on BlackBerry was here around 385, and look, that was the level that it bounced off of, about 8%. So next level of support on BlackBerry is down here somewhere around 375. AG says, what do you think? When do you think the likes of Hood and Meta will announce their stablecoins? Your good is his guess. As your guess is as good as mine. I'm not. I wish I could tell you, but I have no idea. You're welcome, Fahim. Hey, Lawton. Donovan's asking, do you think now is a good place to add to my Palladium long? Let's see. No. Nope. I think Palladium should fall down. I think the place I would add to my long is here around 1167. Yeah, Phil. Ann says, thanks, Lon. You're welcome. And in the XLM chart, okay, what patterns are shown in this? Let me take a look at that chart you sent me. I'll go through to make sure I didn't miss anyone's questions. But if you have any final questions, go ahead and send them. For me, on that chart, and you can see it on my chart as well, and for me, it kind of looked like a bull flag, right? It was bull flagging, but it fell because why? Because crypto fell as well. Bitcoin is about flat, right, for the day. So for me, if anything, it looked bullish. But now you could argue that it's bearish because there's potential head and shoulders pattern. However you want to draw it. It's not like huge, not the biggest head and shoulders pattern, right? Like it's just kind of weird, right? In fact, I don't really like it that much. Definitely broke a upsloping trend line though. But something you have to be careful of is see this great down move. You don't want to see sideways consolidation. If you see sideways consolidation, it's going to be bear flagging in favor of a move to the downside. Okay, let me go back and see. Andy, I did read your question. Make sure I got to all of your guys' questions. Okay, David's asking, what is your opinion on the future direction of the overall market? Gareth is bearish. Here's what I would say, right? It's, let's pull up the S&P. Everything is at all-time highs. Every single thing is at all-time highs. Do I think that I'm anticipating a pullback? Yeah, I do anticipate a pullback. But the question is when, right? The stocks have been all-time highs for like the past year, right? The past like entire year or even longer than a year, right? And continuing to push higher. So at what point are you going to see a pullback? Yeah, I'm generally bearish in that I think we are going to have a pullback. But when things keep making new all-time highs, it's kind of hard to tell you exactly when or at what time that's going to happen, right? We saw here with Liberation Day, it took one event, and what happened? The markets absolutely spiked down 22%. That was a huge market correction, right? So we're kind of like here, right? And we know that our president or the president of the United States and a lot of the people in power, they care a lot about the optics, right? Like I know Trump was really upset when everyone says it's his fault the markets are crashing, even though the Liberation Day tariff announcement literally caused the crash in the markets, right? Caused the crash in the markets. But we know that people in power will do whatever they can to prop it up, right? Make themselves look good. So no one wants to have the S&P come down, right? No one wants to be the reason. No one wants to have it come into happen while they're governing, right? The country, the economy, everything, right? that's partially potentially why that he wants Jerome Powell to cut rates. But right, if we just keep pushing up higher and retail right keeps on buying and thinking it's time to buy, when the selling finally comes, the fall will be even more significant. Okay. So yeah, generally I'm bearish. I do think that we favor a pullback, but it's hard for me to pinpoint exactly where. Is it going to take us going into recession? It could be it, right? Could be it. Is it going to happen when inflation gets significantly higher? When people realize that the cost of everything are higher and they can't afford it and the job markets are down, no one can find a job. What is it going to take? That's the question. Right. But for now, we have a couple things left that can kind of push the markets a little bit higher. Like if we have a trade deal announcement with China, a couple more partners, trade announcements, we can push the markets higher, higher, higher. But as soon as the news dissipates and there's nothing else left to prop the markets up, I anticipate a fall. All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, my name is Lawton Ho here with Verified Investing. I do this every single day from 12:30 to 1:15. Go ahead and give us a follow on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like, share. Because if you guys weren't here, you weren't asking questions, I would have no one to talk to, right? If you have any more additional questions that I didn't get to, you can feel free to send them to me on Twitter at Lawton Investing. Again, it's just at Lawton Investing. I'd be happy to answer any charts or any other questions you guys have. All right. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Best of luck in the markets, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Have a good one. Take it easy, guys. Bye-bye.